Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back to Hey, Sister Girl. I hope everybody has had an amazing week and we just celebrated the 4th of July over the weekend. And I hope that you guys had a nice, relaxing weekend. We had a quite interesting time here on Friday evening. Our power went out. And I'm so thankful that it is back on today because it was hot, y'all. It was hot up in here. And so I'm really, really happy that the power has gone back on. So if it is your first time joining me, this is Hey Sister Girl. My name is Robyn Herron, and I am your carnivorous grandma. And I'm so glad that you are here. Let me know where you are watching from down in the comments. Hey, Tara, I see you down in the chat. All right. I just want to thank everybody who watches this show and you're here. Continue to support what we're doing over here at Hey Sister Girl. If you're sharing or inviting your family and friends to come and join us, by the way, go ahead and click that like button and you click the subscribe button. And of course, as always, you can share this video out with someone that you think needs it. I really love our Monday nights together. And what I'm hoping is that we leave with a little bit more information that we had than we had when we came in. So tonight I want to talk about something that I really believe is one of the most misunderstood topics in nutrition today, right? So not necessarily about how carnivore works or whether it works, not whether you should eat some or any vegetables at all, because I think that those conversations come a little bit later. But I want to answer a very important question tonight, and that is why would anyone even consider trying carnivore in the first place? Right? Because if you've watched the news, you probably heard that eating mostly meat is dangerous. And even in your own mind, you probably think when somebody says, I'm a meat based person, or I eat primarily animal based, or I only eat meat, you probably in your own mind just think, now that sounds crazy. They're going to kill themselves, right? But if you watch YouTube and if you watch all the influencers out here, including me, you probably have heard that carnivore is the answer to every health problem known to man. So tonight, I'm not here to convince anybody to try carnivore or to become a carnivore. I just want us to think about how to think through the question. So I believe that every one of us deserves to understand why people are making this choice. And many, many people I'm seeing every day, different ones coming in saying, I'm new to carnivore. I'm just a week in, or I'm just 2 weeks in, I'm just 1 month in to carnivore. And so why are they making that choice? Why are they deciding to try it? One of the things that I love to do, and if you have been around recently, you notice that we're asking more questions. We're trying to come to some better conclusions, ask better questions, and so that's something that I want all of us to begin to do is just ask questions. Sometimes those questions might be uncomfortable or challenge what we have believed for years. And what I have learned over time is that when something is the truth, it doesn't mind being questioned. You can question the truth. This truth is still going to end up being the truth, right? If something is true, it can stand up to an honest investigation. So tonight, we're going to do an investigation by simply asking why. Again, my name is Robyn Herron. I'm your carnivorous grandma. Some of you guys may have heard my story before, and some of you may have not heard it. I definitely did not grow up, and I was just talking about this to the teens in my teen group on Sunday, that I never really would have thought that I would be doing a YouTube channel talking about the amazing benefits of eating meat. That really was not it wasn't on my vision board. It wasn't something that I had planned for my future. And, but what I was looking for is I was looking for some answers. So some of the issues that I struggled with is I had really, really bad eczema. I was born with it. So always thought that it was just natural. It was a normal part of my life. I never assumed that it could be changed, or be healed or be removed. It would just always be there because I was born with it, right? I accepted it as normal. IBS, I struggled with that, and, I see I see my grandkids kind of struggling with that, and I want them to know it's not necessarily just because it's common and it's happening to you does not mean that it's normal, right? Seasonal allergies. Now, seasonal allergies was one that I was like, never, ever, ever, never would I ever have thought that seasonal allergies were able to be cured. I didn't even think of it as something to be cured. I mean, I did go get the allergy shots, but I never thought that they would go away. It was pretty insane. So, seasonal allergies, anxiety, fatigue, inflammation. I just kept on adding symptoms to my list as I went along. Every few years, it seems like things would just continue to get worse. I got this chronic knee pain, right? My knee just crackles when I'm bending it back and forth right now. It's crackling, right? And so I just thought that this is what naturally happens when you get older. And have you ever thought that? Have you ever thought like, yeah, these are diseases of aging. We're gonna get bursitis and our hips is gonna go out and we're gonna get a knee replacement surgery. Yeah, I mean, my mom had one, so why not me? I definitely would probably end up with that. So, just diseases of aging, right? Waking up aching, needing more medications, not sleeping well, which I still don't sleep well, but I have my reasons. Gaining weight more easily. All of a sudden, it's really hard to get the weight off, you know. And somewhere along the way, society just says, well, you know what? You're getting older. You're just getting older. But what if getting older is not the whole story? It's something that we've accepted as normal, but what if it's really just not normal at all? So when I first heard about carnivore, a completely meat-based way of eating, I thought the people who were doing that had lost their mind. There was a small group, I remember it way back when the internet was first being born, and people were talking about eating only meat, and I was like intrigued, of course, because I was a chronic dieter, but I thought there's no way that people are eating only meat. Like, who does that? Who does that? No fruits, no vegetables, no oatmeal. Oh my gosh, no salad. And I never even really liked salad, but I knew that I was supposed to eat a salad, a big salad every day, right? So everything that I had been taught in my life told me that eating only meat sounded unhealthy. So I know when you hear people talking about this, that I know that what it sounds like because I thought it sounded crazy myself. But here's the thing, what I had been doing was not working. It really was not working either. So this is a point that I had reached, and you may also have reached that point where you just realize, you know what? I've tried everything. I followed all the advice. I'm doing the best I can with these low calorie diets and low fat. And I've cut out the butter and I'm eating margarine. And, I'm trying to eat healthy. I'm trying to eat the rainbow. I counted the calories. I'm buying the 100-calorie pack because I know that eating just 100 calories has got to be better for me. I've done all the diets. This was me. I've done all the diets. And there's no healing in it. And also, I'm still yo-yo dieting. Why am I still doing that? So that's where I was when I made a decision to try it. Not even for a lifelong commitment. I thought I was going to do this for 90 days. I was just going to do an experiment and I'm going to try this for 90 days. And so, for those of you that know me well, or maybe you've been watching my Walk and Talk summer series where I talk about the fact that I'm an IT program director by profession, I make decisions every day based on evidence. So, when we're trying to solve when a complicated problem at work, we don't guess. Guessing could be really detrimental, right? So we gather the information, we test the hypothesis, we perform a proof of concept, and observe the outcomes, right? So that's exactly what I did with my own health. I became the experiment. And guess what? A whole bunch of things started changing. My IBS got better, my seasonal allergies improved, my anxiety improved, eczema, which has been with me since the day I was born, began to improve. And the biggie, my relationship with food changed. I was what they call a perpetual dieter. I was always on a diet. Either I was on a diet or planning to be on a diet or just got off a diet or yeah, I was a dieter perpetually. And so I really got off of that diet roller coaster and stopped thinking about food all day long, right? So, just to be clear, my single person experience is not scientific proof. It is evidence, however, that something very significant happened to me, right? It's not evidence that the same thing will happen to everyone else. It's my own personal N equals one experiment. But what I can say is that personal stories, and if you guys are out here in these YouTube streets watching all these different people talking about the amazing benefits of going primarily meat based, you know that it generates questions. Like these personal experiences generate questions. So that's what we're going to do tonight. So we're going to ask some questions, right? So, how many of you out here are already carnivores? Go ahead and give me a thumbs up in the chat. I do see Raymond. He slipped. Hello. I see Galen. Hi. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here tonight. And then I say Jerry. Hi, Jerry. So, Jerry, I did not see that you tagged me, but I did get a message from George Goodenough. And George said that the grandma, Carnivore Crochet Corner, had created a song for impact. I could not believe it, you guys. It's posted up in my posts, so go over there and check it out. And I was just so super excited. The song is amazing, and yeah, talking about meet me in Kalamazoo, you guys. It's really good. So go check it out on the posts, and I think we're going to have it. We're going to use it for the next commercial. I'm so thankful to, I think her name is Barbara. Yeah, I'm thankful to Barbara for creating that song. It's absolutely incredible. And you definitely, if you're coming to Impact, you're definitely going to hear it when you get here. So I'm seeing a couple of thumbs up because you are a carnivore, but maybe you're just carnivore curious. Maybe you're just listening in to see what are people out here talking about this carnivore way of eating. Maybe someone shared this video with you because you're struggling with diabetes or inflammation or joint pain. Or maybe you think this whole carnivore thing is just absolutely ridiculous, and that's okay. Let me know down in the comments whether you're watching live or you're watching it on the replay. Let me know what your thoughts are about it, right? So, yeah, I don't think that most people become interested in carnivore because they're fascinated by steak. Although I love steak, but I don't think that that's because steak is so fascinating. I think people become interested because they realize that what they're doing is not working. And so the smartest question that we can begin to ask is, why isn't it working? And that's where our conversation is going tonight, because in my professional life, that's exactly the question that we ask before we try to solve any major problem. We don't automatically jump to the solution. We first identify the root cause, right? So I'm going to show you guys a little problem solving technique that we use in work. It's called the 5 whys, and it might change or challenge the way that you're thinking about chronic disease. So, what is the 5 whys? What is it? Why do we do it? Why do we use it? What kind of tool is it, right? 5 whys is a root cause analysis technique, right? So, that what I'm saying to you is that one of the most valuable things that I have learned in my professional career has really nothing to do with the technology. It has to do with how to solve problems. So again, I'm an IT program director running, some pretty big, crazy programs. When something goes wrong in one of our systems, we don't have the luxury of guessing. Let's say, okay, I don't really work with applications anymore, but back in the day, imagine an application crashes, right? Or a project fails, or a major system goes offline. Let's say you turned up your computer today and you couldn't get on Google because it was just down. These kinds of things happen sometimes. And we just don't simply restart the system every time it breaks, because we just keep on restarting the system forever. Somebody has to ask, why did it fail? What is the problem? Why is this a reoccurring problem? Yeah, we could continue to restart the server, or, keep just resetting. But really, why did it stop working in the first place? See, Christy's saying, my comments lately have been full of carnivore haters, calling it a fad diet, saying I better be taking supplements, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you've made it, Christy. You have made it. So if you don't solve for the root cause, the problem is going to come back again and again and again every single time. So this 5 whys is a simple root cause analysis technique, and we identify the problem and then you ask why 5 times, right? So let's talk about our problem statement tonight. Our problem is that America and the world really is getting sicker. We're not just getting older, we're getting sicker and sicker and sicker. Look around you, right? You can see this, very obvious. More obesity, more type 2 diabetes, more fatty liver disease, hypertension, autoimmune conditions, more chronic pain, and more and more and more medications, more depression. Look at how the world has gone mad. Have y'all realized? I was now this is just a crazy thing that I heard on my local news, that somebody was up in the Walmart stabbing people. People have lost their minds, right? More depression, more anxiety. Children literally developing diseases that used to affect only adults. So, yeah, let's ask the first question. The first question that we want to ask tonight: why are so many people metabolically unhealthy? That's why number one. So let's answer it. It's because their bodies are no longer regulating energy the way they should, right? Many have elevated blood sugar. Many have elevated insulin. A lot of people have insulin resistance, and most of us are storing more energy than we burn. What does that mean? We're storing fat on our body, right? That fat on our body is energy. Our metabolism is not functioning optimally, right? So that's a good answer, right? Why are so many people metabolically unhealthy? Sounds like a great answer. But if you're all sitting in my conference room and we're doing a root cause analysis, we're not going to stop there. We're going to just keep on going, because insulin resistance is not the root cause of the problem. There's another problem that's underlying that. So it's like saying the server crashed because it overheated. Okay. Yeah. And so, why did it overheat? Let's ask again. We're going to go with why number 2. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Candace. I appreciate you. I think we met at Hack Your Health, right? Why do people develop insulin resistance? That's why number 2. So, here's our answer. Because many people spend years, sometimes decades, consuming diets high in refined carbohydrates. Y'all know that carbohydrate equals sugar, right? Right? And ultra processed foods. So I just really say that ultra processed foods are not even fit for human consumption for the most part. If you look at that list of ingredients on the back of the bag, they're not fit for human consumption, right? So we're consuming way too many carbohydrates and ultra processed foods and living an increasingly sedentary life. How do you think about the average day? What happens? Are you drinking? So I had a friend, or I have a friend. My friend would put about 14 packets of sugar in her coffee. 14 in an 8-ounce cup of coffee. Or we use something like a sweetened creamer. I used to love the what was that thing? It was called um Italian sweet cream. I used to love that, right? That's an ultra processed food. And the primary ingredient in it is going to be corn syrup or so with soybean oil, canola oil, something in it as far as seed oils. Yeah, 14. 14 packets of sugar. What about breakfast cereal? Very high carbohydrate. Toast, orange juice. Oh my gosh, people are still, I'm like looking around going, people still drinking orange juice? Yes, they are. You're having a mid morning snack, got lunch with chips, you got a soda, afternoon snack, you got dinner with a bread or pasta plus dessert. Don't forget that. You need to have this dessert. Plus, you're having a late night snack. Um, and so for many people, the body just does not get a break. Our blood sugar rises, our insulin rises over and over and over again all day long, right? So I guess some healthy people can metabolize carbohydrates. I think that there are so many people who have a metabolic syndrome these days that it's hard to say, that people can really effectively metabolize carbohydrates. So, because our modern diet provides way, way too much refined carbohydrates and way too often. So, I always call it an overconsumption problem. We have an overconsumption, we're overconsuming sugar, right? So, yeah, modern diets provide far more carbohydrates more often than many people's bodies can comfortably handle, particularly when they're already insulin resistant. But that is still not the root cause, right? That's still, we haven't gotten down to the root cause. So let's ask why number 3. Why number 3 is going to be why why do we eat so many ultra processed foods? Now that I could probably talk about that all day, right? Candace is saying sweet tea was my problem and baked potato with ranch and cheddar cheese. You better hush your mouth, girl. That stuff, oh my gosh, ranch? Yes, so good. Absolutely. It says, smiling for you says, I have a lot of loved ones who still don't relate things like rice, potatoes, bread, and pasta as sugar. Yes, right. Exactly. Exactly. So why in the world do we eat so many ultra processed foods? This one really gets interesting because it's easy to blame individuals. And I think that this is a huge problem that we have had in our society of thinking of overweight metabolic syndrome as some sort of personality problem and blaming the person for the problem. It's easy for us to say people just need more discipline, eat less and move more, right? But if the majority of Americans and people worldwide are struggling with the same problem, maybe we really need to look at the environment. right? Because if you walk into almost any grocery store, what's the largest section? The largest section is gonna be boxes and bags and frozen meals, everything packaged, snack foods and sugary beverages, breakfast cereals and candy and convenience food, and people are busy and parents have jobs and kids have activities. The convenience factor does matter, right? So food companies became really, really good at making foods that are affordable, they're portable, and guess what? They taste amazing. Not overnight. And I think a couple of weeks ago, we talked about, World War II and how they had all these factories and they needed to figure out something to do with them. And they had all this, kind of processing equipment to process food, right? So, yeah, that's what happened until it became normalized. And if you walked in the store and didn't see boxes and bags and packages, you'd probably be like, "What is wrong with this store? Something's different here," right? It became normal. And so, that's not the root cause though, because those foods are being portable, shelf stable, they taste amazing, still doesn't get us down to the root cause of our problem, right? So, why number 4 is going to be, why did these foods become our normal? It's because they solve an immediate problem, fast, convenient, inexpensive. You mean you can literally go in the store and get, you know, you can get whatever kind of snacks, foods, and they've got, it's very, very cheap. So they're inexpensive, they're heavily marketed, and they're specifically engineered to be incredibly rewarding to eat. Have you guys heard of the bliss point? I think I just saw that on your channel, Christy. Who was on your channel talking about the bliss point? Scientists call them hyperpalatable, meaning they taste amazing. When you put it in your mouth and put it on your tongue, it has that perfect sweet and salty and crunchy, and you want to just shed a little tear. You know what I'm talking about? The bliss point, right? So it combines refined starches, added sugar, industrial fat, so talking about seed oils. It's got salt and flavor enhancers, textures designed to make you want another bite. So have you ever noticed this? Nobody accidentally eats 12 ribeye steaks, right? But somehow an entire family-sized bag of chips disappears during one football game. I was looking in my window the other day and I see these giant containers for popcorn. They're big like this, big round things for popcorn. And when they fix popcorn, they each get one of those. And I mean, I used to love popcorn. It was my jam, right? You cannot eat a whole lot of ribeye steak or meat, but you can definitely eat. I could definitely back in the day eat a whole family size bag of Doritos. At least I could eat it in a couple of days, right? It's because the food interacts with your appetite differently than minimally processed foods. Yeah, it's the way the biology works. So, helping us understand how our biology works help us to make better decisions. Oh my gosh. Galen is saying that the bag is mainly filled with air. That's true, but I still would eat the whole bag. I still would. Let's ask one more why, because I don't think we've reached the deepest answer yet. So here's the question. Why has chronic disease become so common? This is what I believe. I believe that we have slowly over time accepted a food environment that's dramatically different from the one that our bodies are geared to navigate, right? So, ancestrally, even if you think, and a lot of people ask me about the Bible, and what do I think about the Bible? It says that you can eat plants. And I say, if you can find some plants that resemble what they had back in Bible days, you go ahead and eat that, right? Our food environment is completely different. So, for most of our history, we did not have drive-throughs. We didn't have vending machines. I was just talking about this the other day, like how when I was a kid, we didn't even go to McDonald's, but maybe once or twice a year. It was a very special occasion. You know, we didn't have all this easy access to everything. We didn't have vending machines and we didn't have energy drinks. I mean, besides coffee, protein bars, breakfast cereal. When I was coming up, that they had. Do you remember when they used to put sugar on the label? It was like sugar corn pops or sugar smacks. They really called it what it was back then when I was a kid, right? We didn't have frozen pizzas. When my kids were coming up, we had all the frozen stuff. And I remember buying those little, they called them Michelinas. I don't know if it's Michelina or Michelina. But I used to buy those for my kids all the time. They were like a buck. So cheap, so inexpensive, right? And the Totino's pizzas, they were like $1. You could get a bunch of those and feed a house full of kids, right? So back then, back in the day, they did not have the shelves filled with all these boxes and bags and packages. These foods, with quotes, are incredibly new, but our human biology is not, right? So I'm not calling out every modern food as poisonous, but a lot of them are. A lot of them are, right? And so, something that's worth talking about is, what if many chronic diseases are not simply the result of getting older, but they're a predictable result of living in an environment our body struggles to keep up with, right? That makes it a really different conversation. It makes it something to think about. Like, our bodies are not designed to tolerate the foods that we are putting in, right? And so I want you to think about this. Do you remember when the juice glasses used to be very small, maybe 4 ounces, that came in a set? Yes, yes, I do. I have some little tiny glasses like that, and I'll sometimes give that to my granddaughter. She asks me for something. I'm like, here you go. It's a tiny cup. She likes it. It's kind of cute. Think about this. If someone from the year 1850 walked into one of our grocery stores today, do you think they would recognize most of what we eat? I just don't think so. Give me a yes or a no down in the chat. Will they recognize it? Probably not. Let's ask yourself another question. If most of what we eat didn't even exist a century or two ago, is it unreasonable to ask whether our bodies might respond differently to it, right? This is a question for you to think about. We didn't even have this stuff a century or two ago. 4 shots of OJ. I never, ever, ever, ever give my grandkids any orange juice. No, I do not, because I think that it's just way too much sugar. It's way too much sugar. So, yeah, we need to think about things like, when we walk into that grocery store and we see all those boxes and bags and packages, that is not, we shouldn't even recognize it as food because most of it's not. All right. So, I want to show you where carnivore fits into this root cause analysis. Here's a hint. It has less to do with meat and a lot to do with removing variables, right? That's how we resolve complex problems in technology, is we remove all the different variables and let it be, let the root cause shine, right? All right, so where does carnivore fit? We walked through the 5 whys. We're gonna go back to the original question. Where does carnivore fit into all this? All right. So if you've been listening, you will notice that we haven't talked that much about meat at all. We've been talking about systems, we've been talking about environments, talking about root causes. And I think really that is where this conversation belongs, because when you Mr. Carnivore Curious, Mrs. Carnivore Curious, even Ms. Carnivore Curious. Start to think about it in these terms. That's where you should begin your thinking, right? So let's go back to the server room. The server that kept crashing every afternoon, every single day, someone walks in and restarts the server. Everything comes back online. Problem solved. Anybody in IT over here? Let me know. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you're in IT. Problem is solved until tomorrow. Finally, someone asks the question that no one else has asked. Why in the world is this server crashing every day? Hmm? After some investigation, they discovered that the air conditioning unit had failed. Every afternoon, the room became too hot. The server wasn't broken, but it was responding exactly the way you would expect a server to respond in an overheated environment. So now let's imagine that the management says, don't worry about the air conditioner. We're just going to hire another technician to reboot the server. We're going to add another, we're going to add another body to this and make sure that that server gets rebooted every time it overheats. Would that make sense? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't solve the problem, right? Uh, you just continue to manage the symptom of the server overheating. So now let's think about it in terms of our bodies. What if our bodies aren't breaking nearly as often as we think? What if they're literally responding exactly as expected, exactly the way our human biology responds to the environment that we have created? Hmm. Right? If we constantly expose our bodies to excess carbs and highly processed foods, if we don't get no movement, if we just sit or stand at our desk all day like I've been doing lately, right? We sleep less, right? We don't get time to catch up on our sleep debt, right? We also experience more chronic stress. Anybody else out here stressed out? Yes. More chronic stress. We eat from sunrise until bedtime, and the only reason we ain't eating at bedtime is because we sleep. If we wake up, we might have a little snack. So, should we be surprised when our metabolism begins to struggle and we end up with all these metabolic disorders? It's not our body failing us. It's literally adapting to the environment that we've placed the body in, right? It's a different way of thinking, it's a different way of looking at it, right? So, let me just put this out here and let you know that I'm not attacking medicine, modern medicine. I'm grateful for it. I have medical professionals in my family, and if I go and I go out here and get hit by a car and I break my leg, I want somebody to take care of me. I want somebody, a medical professional to do something about my leg, right? Call 911. Someone please call 911 if I got hit by a bus, please, right? Right. I need an orthopedic surgeon, right? Because medicine does save lives every single day. We know that doctors save lives, and I believe that most medical professionals are in the profession to heal people, right? So I'm definitely not bashing the medical establishment, although they got some problems. Okay? So that's true, but there's something else that is also true. Medicine is often very exceptionally good at helping us manage disease, right? Instead of dealing with root causes and actually healing, right? It's it Let's throw another medicine at it. Somebody was just telling me recently that they got put on like a blood pressure medication. You know, blood pressure keep on going up. They're gonna get add another blood pressure medication. It's not healing. It's not healing, right? So what we're talking about is lifestyle medicine. It asks a different question. Can we change some of the conditions that contributed to the disease in the first place? And yes, you can. Instead of just throwing a medication at every symptom, right? Can we change the conditions that contributed to the disease in the first place? You hear that difference, right? So these are complementary ideas. Sometimes you do need medication. Sometimes you need a surgery. Sometimes you need both. But sometimes you also need to ask, what can I change? Right? I always say this. The trajectory of your health is in your hands. You can change it, right? When you change the environment, it can change everything, right? So we don't want to spend the rest of our lives treating with medication what the environment continues producing in us. We continue producing a server failure every day, and instead of changing the environment, adding the air conditioner, we're going to just hire somebody else to come in and reboot the server every day, right? So let's imagine that someone has high blood pressure, right? This is me. This is my example. Got high blood pressure. Medicine can help lower the blood pressure, right? And I went on medication and it lowered the blood pressure, right? So for many people, that medication is life saving. But if that same person changes the way they eat, I'll tell you, I went on keto. I didn't even go all the way to carnivore because I thought carnivore was crazy. But went keto, and in a year, I was off the medication and my blood pressure was normalized, right? So, I lost some weight on keto. I got better sleep. I did a little movement. I improved my metabolic health and reduced highly processed food. When I went on keto, I stopped eating all that ultra processed food originally, right? Till they came out with all the keto treats and got me jacked up, right? Yeah, the blood pressure improved. I was able to heal my hypertension through dietary change, right? So, addressing those contributors to the problem is so important. It really, really is. And so, we don't want to keep treating the symptoms, but let's investigate the source. So, people think that carnivore is just about eating meat. I don't think that, even though that is what we eat primarily, it's not just about eating meat. It's about removing all those extra variables. So, has anybody out here ever heard of an elimination diet? I know that you have heard about it, right? A lot of times people will go on an elimination diet, they'll eliminate meat. I'm saying do the opposite. Eliminate everything else and just keep the meat. And then when you start to bring things back in, you're going to see what these issues are that are causing your problem, because I would have never realized that I had a sensitivity to lettuce, which I always hated, if I never would have taken it out of my diet in the first place. I never would have realized that, I have a sensitivity to black pepper. Now I can have a little bit of cayenne pepper, but black pepper gives me a stuffy nose. I would never have realized that if I did not eliminate it in the first place. So this gives you some better information that you can use to figure out what's going on with your body. So that's how we solve our problems, is we remove those variables and then look at what's left and see what's happening, right? So what I tell my coaching clients is, this is a hypothesis. My hypothesis is, what if for a period of time I removed my ultra processed foods, dramatically reduced my carbohydrate, my sugars, right? I prioritized nutrient dense animal foods and gave my body an opportunity to respond, right? I think that you're going to see some big changes in the way that your body is responding. I mean, the possibility is there that nothing would change, but maybe everything changes, because I say that when I went carnivore, it changed everything. It changed the whole game. It literally changed the whole game. How can you find that out unless you try, right? Jerry's saying that people buying a 32 ounces of OJ in a mega cup. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine? I just think that that's insane, right? Yeah. So, there's some labs and stuff that you can get before you start carnivore, before you try it. Definitely you want to go ahead and measure that waist circumference because when you try carnivore, your inflammation is going to go down, your waist circumference will go down. Measure your fasting glucose and your A1C. Measure that fasting insulin. Even though it's a non standard lab, request it. Tell them, yes, I want it. Yeah, I know it's not normal, but I want it anyway. Right. And the more we ask for it, not the more we ask for it, the more the doctors will be like, "Oh yeah, more and more people are asking for this fasting insulin. Let me start looking at that and see what's going on with them when they're fasting." Right? And then measuring your inflammatory markers if that's appropriate for you. Let's gather some evidence and see what's going on with our bodies because the evidence is better than our assumptions. We're assuming that these plants ain't doing nothing to us. Did anybody else have that assumption? I did. I had the assumption that it was not the plants that were doing it. And in fact, I went on the Daniel fast because that seemed like the right thing to do. Daniel fast, no meat at all. Oh my goodness, yes. That was a hard one. Gastric distress with that. So, I think that the debate is good, but we're normalizing things that don't need to be normalized. All of this, these health disorders, metabolic syndrome, causing all manner of disease. We normalizing stuff that don't need to be normalized, and we need to start asking better questions, right? Why is this happening to me? Instead of just throwing a pill at it, let's figure out why it's happening, right? Yes. So we're not helpless. We are empowered. We really, really are to make decisions about our own health trajectory. It's in your hands, right? So when was the last time someone encouraged you to just be curious about your own health and instead of simply telling you what to believe, right? Curiosity does change everything. It says, I wonder what happened if. I just think about this sometimes. If I had not watched all those Dr. Berry videos and watched Dr. Berry going from keto to carnivore and watched Dr. Berry start to lose weight again, he was struggling with losing weight. He started to lose weight again. And then he started to just thrive. And I saw him do that. And then I decided that I could try it because, well, the man didn't die. That's really what I thought about it. He didn't kill himself doing it. So let me go ahead and give it a try. And if I had not done that, man, I would still be I probably would be trapped in my house by now because that was the road that I was on with my anxiety, right? So, yeah, be curious. Be curious. I wonder what would happen if I tried it. Fear says I better not try or I'm too scared to try. But curiosity says, let's go ahead and gather the data. Let's see what happens if I try this for 30, 60, 90 days, you know? And then your fear might say, well, I've already made up my mind that that's not going to work for me. It's not going to work for me. I could never. Oh, I hate that term. I hate it when people say that. It drives me crazy. I could never. You don't know what you can do. You can do a lot of things. We do all kinds of hard things all the time, right? So tonight I'm not asking you to become a carnivore. I'm asking you to become curious. Curious enough to ask some better questions and to examine the evidence. Even if you go out here and start looking at these YouTube channels, you'll see thousands of people changing their health in a myriad of different ways, right? So let's challenge these assumptions. Let's challenge the assumption that we're supposed to be eating the rainbow. It's just probably not the truth for most of us, right? And so let's challenge that. And that's where your transformation can begin. All right. This is a series. So next week we're going to be back again. We answered the first question of why would anybody try carnivore? And next question is going to be what does the science actually say? And does research support this way of eating? What about my cholesterol? What about fiber? What about red meat and heart disease? Oh my goodness. What about vitamins? Do I need a multivitamin? What about my kidney health? And on and on and on. We're going to answer a bunch of questions next week on this similar topic. And really, we're going to drill down into this because it's so important that people know why people are trying carnivore and why so many of us are staying on carnivore. All right. So, yeah, let's find the truth here. All right, you guys. All right, so a couple of things I want to say before I wrap it up, and that is thank you for being here. Click that like button, subscribe, share this with somebody that you think might find this interesting as we're delving into, looked at our root cause analysis. Also, want to mention to you that I will be back on Saturday evening for another episode of Coach's Corner with Coach Sherrod Brown. I'm not sure what our topic is going to be. And then of course back next Monday night with the follow on to this series. We are having a meetup in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Go over to my posts and listen to that song by Grandma's Crochet Corner, Barbara Torchy. Oh my God, so amazing. So we're starting the sponsors are starting to come in. I'm super excited because we'll have a swag bag for you again this year. So we'll be having an updated commercial coming out, letting everybody know who the sponsors are for this year. But I can tell you that I got a bunch of boxes over here from Baja Gold, and Pluck is coming back for another round. Also, I think Element and Salty are coming back for another round. Oh, also, have you guys heard of Salter? Salter has decided that they're going to come on board as a sponsor for Impact this year, so I'm super excited about that. Impact Meetup and Eat Up with Carnivorous Grandma and Friends is going to be held on September 5th, 2026, right here in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And we have an amazing, amazing lineup for you. Y'all, it's selling out. I'm telling you, it's selling out. If you have not gotten your tickets, you're going to want to do so because it's getting really close and we still have like 2 months left to go. So get your tickets and come and be a part of Impact Meetup and Eat Up with Carnivorous Grandma and Friends. All right, you guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed this show. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about this style of show, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.